as a famous person, you sort of read about yourself, you know, gossip and, you know, Twitter and everything. And one thing kept cropping up, even when I was preparing for this tour, people saying, oh, he's out of touch. He's so famous, he's rich, he's mega rich. I am. I could have this place burnt down for a laugh. No, but they say things like, oh, he's an observational comedian. How can he say things that relate to ordinary scum? And I say, don't call them scum, right? But even the papers, they try and get around to it. I do interviews, and they'll always be able to say, oh, do you always fly first class? I go, no, often private. Right? And the number of times I've answered this question, right? They say, do you know how much a pint of milk is? It was meant to make you look out of touch, and I don't know, but that's irrelevant, right? Next time a journalist asks me that, I'm going to say, I don't know, mate, but here's £1. Run and get me one, will you? Is that enough? Is that enough? Yeah. Another question that I always get, particularly with the posh papers, the Sundays, they're doing a profile piece, and they're still trying to alienate you and make you look different, right? And they always say things like, no, you don't have children. I say, no. I say, why don't you have children? Which is a really odd question to ask someone, why don't you have children? As opposed to asking people, why do you have children, right? Let's ask the fat lady in the leggings why she's had 8, shall we? Oh, 9, that one just fell out. That one didn't even touch the sides or disturb a cigarette. That one just, boom. Go and claim for that. People say, oh, it's selfish to not have children. How can it be selfish to not bring a life into the world that doesn't exist on any level? It's not as a long sort of cabinet full of potential ghost fetuses going, we want to be born, right? But I've thought about it, and there's 3 reasons I don't have children, okay? 3 main reasons I don't have children, and I'll share them with you. Okay, here they go. 3 reasons, right? 1, there's millions. The world's overpopulated. No one's sitting around going, oh, Rick's not having kids, we're going to run out. 2, kids are scroungers, aren't they? I mean, from day 1, it's all me, isn't it? Feed me, clothe me, pay for my chemotherapy. No. Not my problem, son. Not mine. Luck of the draw, boy. Luck of the draw. It costs the average household in the West $200,000 to bring up a child, right? And you don't see that back. They don't want to pay you back. They're not grateful. They don't go, oh, thanks for having me every day. They go, I didn't want to be born, right? Even if they get a top job, right, which they won't, okay? You'll never see that money back, right? They just put you in a home, okay? And my kid, he'd be born into ridiculous wealth, wouldn't he? So he'd be a little cunt. A little Hampstead cunt. Running around with all the other fucking little Hampstead cunts. Being all Hampstead and cunty. I'm a little Hampstead cunt. Yes, I know, yeah. These are my little cunty friends. Yeah, I know, it's obvious. Well, I can tell from your little fucking cunty hats that you're little Hampstead cunts, you little posh Hampstead. And on the one hand, he'd know he was a little fucking Hampstead cunt. I'm a little Hampstead cunt. Yes, we know, everyone knows, right? He'd know that, right? And on the other hand, he'd know that he could never live up to being as brilliant as his dad, right? I'd say, you know, I worked my way up from nothing, and I gave it to you, and you're just a little useless Hampstead cunt. You'd go, yeah, and that would probably prey on his little mind a bit, wouldn't it? Like, 11, 12, he'd sort of be a naughty boy, run with the wrong crowd, try and get out from under my shadow, right? And then he'd turn to drugs, and about 13, he'd come home and he'd overdose on my Afghan rug. 20 grand, that was, right? And as he was there, right, convulsing and throwing up his fucking lungs, right, and with his little posh, high-pitched fucking death rattle, right, his little fucking dying words, he'd go, do you love me now, Daddy? No, no. No, I never did, and that's why you're never going to be born, you useless fucking junkie Hampstead cunt.